Let's do a little test here. I will name 4 categories and you will pick or basically sort out one by one what you could live without. Okay, and what is left is your biggest temptation to do foolish things. So the first one is fame, the second one is money, power, pleasure. Okay, so for me, probably pleasure is the last thing I couldn't live without. I could live without, actually. So, no, couldn't is the correct one, sorry. So, yeah, pleasure is probably the thing I'm doing the most foolish things for and distracting myself from like the actual work or shit I have to do. Especially if you pursue those things alone, impulsively and for no real reason. So, if an action doesn't create a positive memory, it's worth reconsidering taking that action. We feel good when we do drugs, masturbate, or put others down, but they are just feelings that fade away again without a real impact, other than destroying our dopaminergic system. It is an incredibly bad life strategy to pursue good feelings because usually the bad feelings show us what is important to tackle. It's the compass that guides us to purpose. We need satisfaction, meaning, and fun when we try to become happier, that's no question. But it also depends on how our brain processes pleasure and pain, because one only makes sense in connection with the other one. And you can do a little test, which is called the PANAS test. The first one sounded a little weird. But yeah, I will link it down in the description below. And you can do it to find out how strongly you perceive positive or negative feelings. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. There are like these categories of like mad scientists who are really feeling down and are really happy when something goes right, you know. Maybe you're like a more neutral person, and depending on the outcome you can rethink how you approach your life, basically. You can also just use ChatGPT, give them the results and they will figure something out, you know. So there will be more moments in life when one will give anything back to be in the present, in the now again. And yet we attach so little importance to the moment because we always long for the future. And this future will never come. It will be only the present moment again. So even if you have reached your perfect to-do list, you have to maintain this status over which we don't even have full control over. So the new things you want, you will want as much as the first ones. So when we appreciate the good in our life, we find ourselves surrounded by more of it. What brings even greater joy than expressing gratitude is receiving it. There are simple go-to practices that one can adopt, such as maintaining a failure journal or a reverse bucket list. So when something unfavorable occurs, just record it in your failure journal. I know it sounds weird, but it's a great exercise actually. After 1 month, and then again after 6 months, you revisit the incident and ask yourself, after 1 month, what did I learn from this? And then after 6 months, what positive outcomes emerged because of this? And this tricks your brain to turn something negative, initially negative, that you perceived as negative, into something good, actually. You just rethink the whole concept of it. So the reverse bucket list is not about setting future goals. It promotes the idea of intention without attachment. Every birthday, you basically jot down what you've already achieved or even what you hope to achieve, and then deliberately strike it off the list. This reinforces in your mind that your worth is not tied to accomplishing these desires. So it's essential to note that having multiple options to choose from can make one happier. But once a choice is made, it's best to stick with it and let the other options slowly fall away. In the long-term study by Robert Waldinger, it was found that the loneliness is as destructive as smoking and alcohol. So even just fleeting conversations in which one is present can be highly valuable. Again, the present thing, only the moment actually counts, what you're doing now with what you have at hand at the time you are living, okay? So social scientists often recommend that measurements like subjective well-being should complement standard economic prosperity indicators such as per capita GDP. However, measuring happiness can be challenging. Again, Also the cultural influences. It doesn't really make sense to say, hey, Bhutan is the happiest country in the world, because they define happiness in a completely different context than the United States or Germany does, for example. It only makes sense to look at one country and compare it to like stats 40, 50 years ago with like 20 or today, you know. In general, we can say that suicide rates, depression, listlessness are higher in first world countries, despite having a better standard of living. And the higher the standard, the more challenging it is to find hope. In the past, people hoped for peace, or sustenance and health, freedom from violence. Today, the concept of hope has become more complex, with people perceiving many issues as, well, monumental, or the other way around, of unworthy of their attention. Feelings of helplessness and constant purpose seeking, especially exaggerated by society or teachers, university, this can become problematic. People often have a skewed perception of success and fame, placing too much emphasis on others' opinions and feedback instead of making positive impacts quietly. Because the human mind is inherently flawed, both emotionally and rationally. Almost everything we create is also flawed. And these occurrences generate hope, the hope of solving or improving the situation. But the solution will likely be flawed as well, because it's made by humans. Therefore, it's crucial to focus on values such as respect and courage and love rather than material possessions. People often assume that career success will lead to happiness, but in pursuing that success, they may sacrifice happiness along the way, leaving them unfulfilled. So it's essential to optimize the journey itself, making it more fulfilling and enjoyable. Sometimes we must remind ourselves of our accomplishments and what would happen if we continue to work in the same place, for example. You know, there is this U curve in life, suggesting that people are happier in their 20s and during retirement than in the intervening years. And this is paradoxical, considering that parents are often view their children as their greatest happiness source, while simultaneously grappling with new challenges. Statistically, having children does not significantly impact happiness levels, but people are often experiencing like an extended capacity for empathy, basically, and being able to put themselves into others' shoes. Like everyone there has been a baby, you know, a little thing that you suddenly hold in your hand, and it gives you just a new level of humbleness and humility, which also serves as like happiness indicators again. So people are often praised for their successes and demolished for their failures, programming them to seek success as much as possible. However, it is also essential to remember that happiness is the key to success and not the other way around. Countries with higher economic growth and wealth tend to have higher average self-reported life satisfaction than poorer, demographically similar countries. People in countries with longer life expectancies also tend to report higher life satisfaction levels. Countries where people feel they have control over their lives and can make their own decisions generally have happier populations. However, we have been alienated from our work in this capitalist society. The term human resources indicates that employers view their workforce as replaceable and are happy with a high turnover rate. And don't get me wrong, a high turnover rate is important for a company, but the reason employees are leaving shouldn't be because they are unhappy or not suitable. Rather, they have been nurtured to become critical thinkers and valuable creators who seek new adventures. The job market, I think, is going to focus in the future on rather short-term projects, especially with AI playing a bigger role, instead of like these, okay, you're sitting at your desk job for the next 40 years, you know? So, yeah, I think when one invests in the value of companies and therefore hires with intent, a workforce is created in which individuals can thrive and where the focus remains on fulfilling promises made to the customers and maintaining the quality of the product or service. Just as happiness should appear as a byproduct and cannot be actively sought, the same holds true for love. Just as you can't actively search for love, it surprises you, it strikes you like Cupid's arrow. literally, you know, when you least expect it. I don't know about you, but lately I've been like thinking about our world order and how things are changing and what trajectories we are in currently. And I've been looking pretty pessimistic about the world, you know, and I'm an optimist. And this is pretty normal because people are more optimistic in their personal lives and on their outlook on their individual trajectory rather than the societal level or the country level. And one reason for the pessimism surrounding the world's future is ignorance. A majority of people, namely 52%, believe that the rate of extreme poverty is increasing. In reality, the opposite is true. The global rate of extreme poverty has been declining for 2 centuries, and in the past 20 years, this positive trend has accelerated. Child mortality rates have also decreased, and widespread ignorance about these critical global changes contributes to general dissatisfaction with the world's progress. According to a survey, only 3% of respondents in France and Australia believe the world is improving. In contrast, respondents in poorer countries tend to be more optimistic, with 40% in China and 23% in Indonesia, believing the world is getting better. It's just this skewed reality that we get through social media, I think, also a lot, like X and Instagram. Like if I click on a post on X, I don't see answers for like a question. I see memes and like random videos, nothing to do with the actual topic, you know. And it's so easy to just put bots there and produce amounts of content you've never seen before. So of course, you know, you fall into this pit of darkness where everything seems nihilistic and the world is going to end, you know. But in reality, some narcissistic, like 10% of the most contributing accounts are posting some stupid shit that you see and you think, oh my god, everyone is thinking like this. We gotta really be careful here, you know. But if you meet a random dude or a girl on the street, they're probably pretty chill, you know. So yeah, just touch some grass is the end of this video and my general point. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments what again you do to achieve happiness, what habit maybe has produced the most impact in your life. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.